ReMatriation in urban spaces and how we can make change and push back and push colonial capitalism through spaces like this, through building, with different aspects of that, like through academia, First Foods, by working with the city and through healing. And so all of our guests here are specialists in those different aspects of this work, and they're going to provide us with a lot of interesting things to think about and talk about. Here, so what I just want to start off by saying is these spots are really important, and you might think that there's a lot of these kinds of spots around, because you'll think of like maybe like a recreation center that your city puts up, or I don't know, like a gym or something, right? But like this is not that kind of place. Like this is something that focuses on justice, and the work that we do here is Indigenous-Led, and it is for everybody, but it is Indigenous-led, and it's focused on uplifting and empowering the oppressed, BIPOC people, Two-Spirit LGBTQ people, disabled people, women, but everybody takes part. This is also a place of solidarity, and this is a place where we're building power through a brick and mortar space, like through actual space. Land has become real estate. Real estate has become the most powerful thing in the world, and guess what? Black and brown people have none of it. 96 to 98% of the land in this country is owned by white people. They make up 65% of the population here, and they hold 85% of the wealth. And when you think about expanding yourself, expanding your mind and your body, and not being constricted, space and the ability to be safe in it and know that you're where people care about you, love you, and will protect you makes a really big difference in how you look at the world and how you feel about yourself and everything else. So I would like to just basically pass this off to each one of the guests on the panel and ask them, about what they do as a specialty and how that relates to, ReMatriation, and in particular, ReMatriation in urban spaces like we're doing here in Iowa City. So I'll start with
systems, I hate systems, Western systems, trying to get away as much as I can. I'm very grateful for all the people who are willing to work within these systems so that I cannot. No, really, because I don't want any part of it, and that's been part of my journey. ReMatriation started with my own personal healing journey. When I was a little girl, my dad moved us to Iowa, to a small, tiny little rural all-white town where me and my mom were the only non-white people there, and we dealt with some pretty bad racism. And when you're a kid, you don't understand what's going on. You just know that like everyone hates you. And then when adults don't step in, you're like, oh, something's wrong with me, right? So you internalize these messages. So I grew up in this. Luckily for me, I'm very inquisitive and I love to read, and because nobody wanted to be my friend, I read a lot of books. So that also radicalized me, just so you know, sort of like funny. So yeah, I was always asking questions, like I didn't understand, like what is this all about? And then as I got older, I started to learn about this whole racism thing. I'm like, oh, this is what I'm enduring, So yeah, luckily for me, I was very inquisitive. I love to learn, I love knowledge, I love to read. However, knowledge doesn't equate to spiritual healing all the time. I had to get to the point where I understood that I had internalized these messages.
So yeah, we're talking about structures, colonial structures. Of course, cities are built on colonial structures, but you know, hubs. So here we go. Hubs are pushing back, right? Hubs are creating resistance to and/or providing alternative ways of being in the world that maybe some cities might be interested in learning about. And Iowa City has shown an interest in what we do and has been really supportive of our work. And they hired Tamara actually to help us with our work. And I mean, I think that's pretty awesome. And so Tamara here is here with us today to talk about that work and also about the awesome work that you're doing with your own business.
As House mentioned, I've been hired by the City of Iowa City to help with some of the Resilience and Innovation Hub work that Great Plains Action Society is engaging in now. And you know, I think when I was speaking with Ecological about kind of the framing or perspective I might add to the conversation tonight, you know, we kind of spent some time thinking about kind of the role that cities and other government entities, but really cities at a local level might play in supporting resilience hub development and why that kind of partnership and support can be so impactful. And you know, I previously to starting my own business, Empowered Solutions Collective, I spent about 4 years building out the Linn County Sustainability Department and got the opportunity in that role to work on a couple of different resilience hub models. One that was supported by the county, one that was supported by a community-based organization here in Cedar Rapids, Wellington Heights Community Church, for those that might be aware of the Cedar Rapids area. And I think just looking at those two models, it was really eye-opening of how, you know, we could structure resilience hub development in a way that was actually, you know, doing what the goal was. And so for folks that might not be familiar with resilience hubs, the idea is that you're working with existing trusted community locations and organizations. Because, you know, if you think about, you know, when there are times of disruption, whether that be a collective, you know, shared natural disaster, whether that be an individual's, you know, personal kind of life disaster, monetary, family, mental health, physical health.
So I want to say this evening, to come here with food, how many of you have tried native food before tonight? How many of you guys have tried native foods? And I'm not talking about Indian tacos, that doesn't count, okay? I'm talking about real native foods, all right? No fried bread. Okay, good. So I want to let you know, these experiences, these are the things that we don't talk about in school, okay? I go around and I teach at culinary schools. I used to back in the day. They don't teach you this, okay? It has no bearing on what came from America. And as Cruz said, 60% of the world's food on its shelves right now was originated here in the Americas, okay? Most people don't know that. And they don't teach you that. There's no pride in that amongst our people. And when I worked for the Senecas in New York, we opened up Allegheny. And for the first couple years of being open at Allegheny, Seneca Allegheny Casino, I ran their buffet, I ran their fine dining, I opened their fine dining. We used to have hunters bring bear and deer to the back of the casino. The hunters, that's their way of life, right? That's what they do. So if someone caught wind that we were butchering bear and deer at the casino, we put it on the buffet, we make bear sausage, bear chili. We do all that kind of good food for showcasing what the Senecas ate, right? We got reported, okay? So within that opening session of that food, we told them we're sovereign nation. We can eat whatever we want. So they came back with the state of New York and said, the USDA says, if that food's not inspected, you don't have it on the tables. We said, go to the edge of the reserve and go jump in the river, okay? That's what we told them. This is native land. You're standing on native land, get off. So within a week, 300 U.S. What do you call it, guards, campus, National Guard set on that highway into our casino and told people they were not allowed to eat in our restaurants. They sat there for 3 weeks while we were working. And until we cleared everything out of our shelves and the USDA came and inspected everything, we were not allowed to open our restaurants. Okay? So today, that was only 15 years ago. And today, I cook food like this for our children in our Head Start program in the Santee Reservation.
I just want to go back to what Cruz said and say, I think, one of the most powerful, and you should remember, I mean, it's so capital, whatever, you're so capital. One of the greatest social impact investments that anybody can make is in an Indigenous woman, because she's gonna get stuff done. So, yeah, so,
I thought they were gonna come to put some bricks. This thing is built already.
well, here's the thing, why build, like, it's to be sustainable, right? And you shouldn't just rip stuff down, you should build from what's there. So that's that's a good model. DEI was just a word that like white people came up with when they saw, oppressed people creating their own programs within university structures and they didn't know what to do with it. So they had to classify it with something and put some kind of cage around it, and that became what DEI is. In essence, I think that DEI going away is not, I mean, I know it's a loss because we're losing important things, but we're always going to rebuild and we're still here. We exist still. So places like this can be incubators, for more to come, I guess.
And I want to, so the law is made by the powerful, right? So I have some friends that work in Mexico and they build buildings for indigenous people. And the indigenous people have been building with the land, right? And they make adobe with the earth. And because they don't have lobbyists arguing to the people that make the law, the people that own the concrete companies and the steel companies and the glass companies have made adobe building illegal. So even if you've been building for thousands of years with some materials, because the law is controlled by the people that have access to money, right? The people that know with the food and with the materials, they cannot pass the law, right? So that we need also people that are working with law, right, in a way to make these things available. So it's not only about the accessibility of the food, but as Anthony said, it's who has access to the people that are passing on the system.
What's the most powerful thing in the world is the land. You guys are tired of hearing me say this, but it's the only real thing, right? And what comes from the land are food. So you control the land, you control the food. And if you control the food, then you control the people. So that's why Anthony's work and everybody's work, everybody in this room, that's why your work is so